Shabbat Shalom. Delighted that everyone can be here, whether you're physically with us in the sanctuary here at Adith Emmanuel tonight, or you are watching through the blessing of technology. And on this third Shabbat, which we often have the accompaniment with guitar, we're delighted that Adam Broyles is going to be leading us in some of the music, and yours truly will play a few chords. In addition to, we're going to need extra help with everyone singing tonight, so we can add our voices as instruments as well. And we also are delighted that so many of our teens in AFTI are with us this evening and will be leading us in various parts of the service as well. So we turn now to our opening song, which is a nigun.
So this is a new nigun that's going to help us learn one of the new prayer settings we'll be learning tonight. So I'm just going to sing a couple measures, and I'd like for you to repeat after me. You can relax for the moment. Ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. That's the main setting of it. Let's give it a try. Ya la la. One more time. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la.
Remember that melody? We're going to be putting it to work in a prayer later in our service. As we turn now to the lighting of our Shabbat candles and our Kiddush, we turn in our Siddur and our prayer books to page 120, and it's my pleasure to welcome up Joanne and Adam and Kyle to lead us in our lighting and blessings. As we turn now to welcome in our Shabbat bride, if you will, with the words of Lecha Dodi. We can find Lecha Dodi on page 138. Page 138.
Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, pidei pidei Shabbat nikamela. Lecha lecha dodi, B'nai B'nai Shabbat Nikabela la 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 Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nai B'nai Shabbat Nikabela Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nai B'nai Shabbat Nikabela Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad Ishmiyanu elam yuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad L'shem u'tiferet v'litki la 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 Lecha dodi Likrat kala B'nai B'nai Shabbat nikabela Lecha dodi Likrat kala B'nai B'nai Shabbat nikabela Likrat Shabbat לכוון אלך, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תקילה, לה 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 לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Verse 9.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובשולה, תוך אמוני ים סגולה. בואי כלה, לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
And while we're standing, we take a moment to turn to somebody, perhaps not the person next to us if we already know that person, but someone in front of us, behind us, across the way. Let's introduce ourselves to one another and greet one another. Shabbat Shalom. And if you're watching through the blessing of technology, feel free to say Shabbat Shalom and you can chat with one another. As we turn now in our Siddur to page 264, and that's 264 in the brackets, as we continue with our blessing, Baruch Hu.
B'nai
On page 266, we read responsively. In each age we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment we are addressed by the world. In each age we are challenged by our ancient teaching. At each moment we stand face to face with truth. In each age we add our wisdom to that which has gone before. At each moment the knowing heart is filled with wonder. In each age the children of Torah become its builders and seek to set the world firm on a foundation of truth. Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
May be seated. As we continue on page 268 in our Siddur, 268 with V'ahavta. On page 269, we pray responsively. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all. Yet that oneness eludes our grasp as imperfection and evil abound. Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness. There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul. When will redemption come? When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves. Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High. We learn God's presence redeems time and event, so we celebrate this power that makes for freedom.
Mi amor. Adonai, Adonai. Who is like you? Who is like you? Adonai. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la.
We continue on page 271. Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukkot shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. We continue on page 273. As we are able, we rise for tefillah. May be seated. As we continue on page 281, responsively, for the good in us which calls us to a better life, we give thanks. For the strength to improve the world with our hearts and our hands, we offer praise. For the desire in us which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful. For life and nature, harmony and beauty, For the hope of tomorrow, all praise to the source of being. For all these things, O Sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'lecha na'eh lehodot.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lekol השלום, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. וואו, שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. Thank you, Adam.
We continue our prayer now silently, whether we are led by the words on the pages of our Siddur through page 285, or look at other prayers throughout the prayer book, or those meditations and thoughts in our hearts. We turn our thoughts and prayers now to those who are in need of healing, and so we turn in our Siddur to page 371 in the middle of the page. And so if you're watching us through the blessing of technology and are thinking of someone who is in need of healing, whether it's a healing of the body or a healing of the spirit, feel free to add that person's name in the chat. People in the sanctuary will have an opportunity to add names after I share with you these people in our extended Adith Emmanuel family whom we are thinking of in need of healing at this time. We send our blessings to Elaine Moskowitz, Sam Rosenberg, Linda Drachman, Chaim Ben David, Eileen Davison, Craig Davison, Hugh Morton, Art Bond, Roberta Levine, Cy Kliansky, Jordan Maverick Steinberg, Deanna Amariello, Lisa Galda, Brian Zabel, Ed Crosby, Jonathan Burr, Myra Kaplan, Jeff Schaefer, Lulu Rivuela, Marion Gwertz, Aaron Tepper, Lily Tepper, Louis Alahut, Mary Parker, Tricia Tepper, Carol Schaefer, Mary Mednitsky, Jocelyn Jackson, Jen Jones, Shirley Friedlander, Michael Infanti, Gary Garnick, Ann Marsden, Rick Ulrich, Ileana Cohn, and others whose names we should add at this time. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim.
Mi sheberach avoteinu mikor habracha limotenu, may the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu b'kor habracha li'avotenu. Bless those who need a healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
You may close your books. Just testing the sound down here. Can you hear me? Is it loud enough? Wave in the back if you can hear well. Okay, thanks. So Moses and Aaron come before Pharaoh for the first time, and they take their mateh, this rod, the staff, to show some kind of wondrous act. In this week's Torah portion, Va'era, we read about the first 7 plagues which God casts upon Egypt. Some of them are conjured up with this very mateh, this rod. Now, the wonder of this first precursor to the plagues is that when the rod is cast down, it turns into a snake, that's right. And historically, some of this magic has been explained as either a cobra or a crocodile. And so the Egyptian magicians, they were able to do the same thing with their rods. So that's not such a wondrous thing to do. If Moses and Aaron can throw their rods down and the magicians can throw their rods down and it does the exact same thing. The true wonder is that Aaron's mateh, when he throws it down and it turns into the form of a reptile, it then swallows the Egyptian reptiles and it doesn't become any thicker. So what is this rod mateh all about? There's a midrash that teaches about the origins of this miraculous mateh. The mateh was created at twilight on the sixth day of creation. So figure it's like the sixth day, it's almost over. God has created everything, but wait, there's a few more things. And there were 10 things, and one of those 10 is said to be this mateh. And that mateh was handed to Adam in the Garden of Eden. Adam handed it to Enoch, Enoch to Shem, Shem to Abraham, Abraham to Isaac, Isaac to Jacob, and Jacob took it to Egypt and he handed it to his son Joseph. And so then when Joseph died, all his household effects were moved and deposited in Pharaoh's palace. Now Jethro, you know who Jethro is? It's the father-in-law of Moses. At the time, he was one of Pharaoh's magicians. And when he saw this mateh, this rod, with all the signs on it, he coveted it in his heart and he took it. See, the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not covet, aren't out there. So he took it and he brought it to his own place and he actually planted this rod made of wood in his garden by his house. And no one could come near it until Moses arrived in the land of Midian, and he entered the garden of Jethro's house, saw the rod, and he was able to make out the signs on it. And he stretched out forth his hand, and he took it. And when Jethro saw this, he said, "This man is destined to redeem Israel from Egypt." We see other stories in other mythologies, right, where nobody except the right person is able to grab that special thing that is stuck in the ground, right? Now, sometimes this mateh is referred to as belonging to Moses. Other times, Aaron is its owner. And according to the Jewish Publication Society's commentary on this pre-plague wonder, Aaron's mateh actually acts on its own when it's in that form of the snake, and in doing so, it establishes the superiority of the power of Aaron's God over that of the magician. What's this mateh all about? It's about power. Power and a contest to see who is in control. So in thinking about the mateh this week, its symbolism of power, control, I'm thinking of the contesting that's going on of governmental power, both here in the United States and in Israel. This coming Sunday, January 22nd, would have marked the 50th anniversary of the United States Supreme Court landmark decision known as Roe versus Wade. This 1973 case made abortion legal in all 50 states. And then last summer, the Supreme Court of the United States, in the case known as Dobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health, struck down Roe versus Wade. And this decision ended safe and legal abortions nationally, and it has led now to abortion bans in 12 states. Such a move makes me think about who has power, who has control. The judicial branch, the Supreme Court, made this ruling. And now at this point, it would take a ruling of our Congress, of our legislative branch, to supersede this decision. And so in the absence of such a national law from Congress, legislative branches at the state level have been creating their own laws, some which I fear are harmful to individual women, who cannot legally, safely, and affordably access abortions. There has also been another response to this overturn of Roe versus Wade, and that's been seen in over a dozen states and about 24 municipalities in which they're moving to institute pro-abortion rights policies. This latest Supreme Court decision goes against Jewish values. Back in November, in my reform response class, we discussed abortion and Jewish laws and principles surrounding the termination of a woman's pregnancy. So the response class, the reform response class, is a study of questions that have been asked of the Reform rabbis over the years and the answers that a body of my colleagues sit down and they comb through the traditional sources and say, well, what is this modern thing that we're looking at, this question? If we look back in our historic texts, how do we answer it? What's our opinion and what is the ruling? And so the question that was asked was a question in 1985 and posed as follows. Assuming that abortion is halakhically permitted, is there a time span in which abortion may take place according to tradition? So in the response, we learned that the assumption of an abortion being allowed by halakha, which is Jewish law, that was the question, is halakhically permitted, it's a given. It is allowed according to halakha. And then the conclusion stated, it's clear from all the text presented that traditional authorities would be most lenient with abortions within the first 40 days. After that time, there's a difference of opinion. Those who are within the broadest range of permissibility permit abortion at any time before birth if there's a serious danger to the health of the mother or of the child. We would be in agreement with that liberal stance. The power and control of reproductive health remains in flux across our nation, which is why the Religious Action Center for Reform Judaism, also known as the RAC, R-A-C, has reproductive rights on its list of issues to address over the next 2 years. It's also among the topics which the teens, our high school students, will be addressing next weekend when we are going to Washington, D.C. for the RAC Littaken seminar. So keep posted as to how and what we can do in this power struggle. And then in Israel. If you've been following current events in Israel, you may know that in November, the Israeli elections resulted in Benjamin Netanyahu regaining the position of prime minister and forming a coalition with some very right-wing parties in the Israeli Knesset. And I think that alone is a devar Torah for another time. The part related to this power struggle is that there's been a contest between the Israeli Supreme Court and the Prime Minister. CNN reported this week that Israel's top court ruled 10-1 that Aryeh Deri, who is the leader of the Shas party, that's a religious party on the right, very far right, and a key ally of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, should not be allowed to serve as a cabinet minister because of a February 2022 conviction of tax fraud. So Aryeh Deri was convicted of tax fraud back in February, and Prime Minister Netanyahu wants to appoint him to a minister position. According to the ruling, Netanyahu should remove Deri from his post. The judges determined this is, among other things, due to Deri's backlog of criminal convictions and his failure to retire from public life, as he said he would do when he being sentenced for that tax fraud case. And so therefore, Deri's appointment cannot hold. Netanyahu is pushing back. The underlying legal issue is whether Deri's tax fraud conviction, which took place, by the way, when he was a member of the Knesset, it constitutes a crime of moral turpitude. Until November's elections, that would have disqualified him from serving in government. But Netanyahu and his allies made a change to the law so that that would clear the way for Deri to become a minister. It's ironic to me that the head of the Shas religious party, convicted of fraud and other crimes, does not seem to be living the values and mitzvot which our Jewish religion teaches us, such as truth and honesty. Our Torah tells us, you shall not falsify measures of length, weight, or capacity. You shall have an honest balance, honest weights, an honest ephah, and an honest hin. Just one example from the book of Leviticus. And it's more complicated, as things always seem to be more complicated in Israel and with the Knesset, because Deri's Shas party has in it 11 seats, which gives Netanyahu the majority of 64 in this 120-seat Knesset. So removal of Deri could lead to the collapse of Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition. Also, to be even more complicated, Justice Minister Yariv Levin, as a member of Netanyahu's Likud party, has announced plans to change Israel's justice system by giving the Knesset the power to overrule Supreme Court decisions. So we see this tension between Supreme Court in Israel and Prime Minister, or Supreme Court and Knesset. It's a similar struggle that we're seeing in our own country of this checks and balances of different branches of the government. What's so frustrating for me is that as I watch this metaphorical mateh, this struggle for power in the governments of both the U.S. and Israel, I'm troubled that the power is being wielded by forces that don't embrace justice and Jewish values. So what can we do? If we cannot be the ones who actually hold that metaphoric mateh in our own hands, then we need to contact those who do have power. We need to raise our voices. So let us use our collaborative and collective voices, many of us, to put the mateh in a place of right and justice. Shabbat shalom. As we turn now in our Siddur to page 587, as we're able, we rise for Let Us Adore.
Unto God,
may be seated. We turn our thoughts and prayers now to those who are no longer with us, and so we turn in our Siddur to pages 598 and 599. If you're watching through the blessing of technology and you're thinking of a loved one and want to add their name in the chat, you can do so at this time. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died during this period of Shiva and Shloshim. Frank Gardner, son of Sarah and Bruce Gardner, brother of Mark. Robert Perloff, uncle of Rob and Leah Kaplan. Robin E. Helfat, sister-in-law of Mark Helfat. And we think of those who died at this season in years past, whose yahrzeits we mark on this Shabbat. We remember Alvin Brown, Carl Cohen, Anita Einstein, Alvin Elner, Hyman Feldman, Rebecca Goldman, Deborah Katz, Ellie Kay, Dr. Frank Lasella, Stanton Oliver, Jenny Silver, Mildred Salat, Alice Spradlin, Stanley N. Starbecker, Robert Strumwasser, George Weiss, Claire Zeit, and other names we should add at this time. If you had a name to add, you're here in the sanctuary, you want to rise and say that name aloud, please do so at this time. And so I invite those who are in the period of Shiva to rise, or those in the period of Shloshim, those who are in the first year of mourning to rise, and those who are here observing a yahrzeit, the Shabbat, to rise. We think of them and all those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. Zichronam Levracha. May their memories be for blessing as we all rise now as we are able in comfort and support, continuing with the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach Hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mavarach le'olam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei dekudasha b'riachu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. Da'amiran b'yalma v'imru. Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. May be seated. It's my pleasure to welcome Diane Singer, our synagogue president, to share with us a few hodaot announcements.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi Memes Faller, Cantor Sandy, Adam, Shana, Afti, for leading us in tonight's service. Thank you, Joanne, Adam, and Kyle for leading us in tonight's blessings. Thank you, Judy and Joanne, for greeting, and Janice for setting up Oneg. And as always, a special thank you to all of you for joining us this evening. Please join us tomorrow morning at 8:45 for Torah Talk and Bagels, followed by our Simply Shabbat service at 10 a.m. Tomorrow evening, ECC and Sisterhood will be hosting their second annual Ladies' Night In. Sunday is Cradle Roll and Men's Club Blood Drive. Please mark your calendars for the first weekend in February. Friday night will be our annual Red Shabbat and our Tu B'Shvat Seder. And Sunday, the 5th, Jeff Green and Rabbi will be leading a book discussion. The book is called It Could Happen to You. The book is free. It's in the office if you want to pick up a copy. Oneg will be in the social hall this evening. I'm pretty sure the photos from the 7th and 8th graders are still hanging on the wall and you're still able to vote, so vote for your favorite picture. Tonight's law for Shabbat is in honor of the playoffs. Vince Lombardi used to say, if winning isn't everything, then why do we keep score? Truth be told, good sportsmanship and respect makes you a winner, despite the score. This weekend and Wednesday nights, may we have both good sportsmanship and a winning score for your favorite team. Shabbat Shalom. That was to my friend Laura and my Wednesday night Mahjong group. Just
As we invite Afti up to the bima for our closing song, it is Odiavo, which you can find in your Siddur on page 657, page 657. Just one drum.
Shalom Aleinu. Shalom Aleinu.
And we continue with our motzi. Kylie, you want to take that challah cover off? Please join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tzei avon and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.